I know exactly what happened to you today. You were sitting at your desk, you had your charts open, you did your top-down analysis perfectly, you identified the trend, you marked your key levels of supply and demand, and you waited patiently. And then, it happened. The market gave you the exact setup you had been waiting for. It checked every single box in your trading plan. Your strategy screamed, buy. But your finger didn't move. You stared at the cursor hovering over the execution button. You felt a tight knot in your stomach. Your heart rate started to climb. And suddenly, a little voice in your head whispered, let's just wait for this 5-minute candle to close. Let's just wait for one more confirmation. What if it's a fake out? So you waited. You hesitated. You tried to find absolute safety in a market that is inherently unsafe. And, while you were busy trying to predict the future and protect your ego, the market did exactly what your strategy said it would do. The candle exploded in your direction. It ripped right through your take-profit level. You sat there, watching a massive green wave of profit pass you by, realizing you just missed the trade of the week. And then comes the worst feeling in trading. Worse than a stop loss. Worse than a drawdown. It is the toxic, burning anger of missing a perfect trade because you were too scared to click a button. You feel like a coward. You feel completely incompetent. And out of that frustration, you probably chased the market 10 minutes later, bought the absolute top out of pure FOMO, and immediately took a loss. Am I right? If this is you, do not close this video. Stop scrolling. What you are experiencing is not a lack of market knowledge. Your strategy isn't broken. You do not need another indicator. You are suffering from analysis paralysis. And in the next few minutes, I am going to show you exactly why your brain is actively sabotaging you. And I will give you the precise psychological operating system to fix it, so you never freeze at the execution button ever again. Welcome to the Mental Edge Academy. Today we are dissecting the silent killer of trading accounts, analysis paralysis. To cure this disease, we first need to understand the symptoms. Analysis paralysis is the state where a trader overanalyzes a situation so much that a decision or action is never taken, in effect, paralyzing the outcome. In trading, it usually looks like this. You have a defined edge, but when the moment comes to deploy capital, you suddenly require an impossible standard of proof. You want the RSI to be perfectly oversold. You want the moving averages to cross flawlessly. You want the volume to align. You want the news to be clear. And you want the order book to show massive support. You are looking for the Holy Grail. But here's the brutal reality of the financial markets. By the time a trade looks 100% safe, the opportunity is already gone. The market pays you to take on risk when things are uncertain. When things become certain, the move is over, and the smart money is already cashing out at your expense. So why do we do this? Why do we freeze when we know our strategy works? It comes down to two massive psychological flaws: perfectionism and the inability to accept loss. Let's talk about perfectionism first. From the time you were a child, the traditional education system wired your brain for a specific reality. In school, if you get the answer right, you get an A. You are praised, you are smart. If you get the answer wrong, you get an F. You are punished. You are told you failed. You were conditioned for decades to believe that making a mistake is a reflection of your intelligence and your worth. Now, you bring that exact same mental framework into trading. You unconsciously believe that a winning trade means you are a genius, and a losing trade means you are an idiot. You have fused your net worth with your self-worth. When you sit at your computer, you are not just risking 1% of your capital. You are risking your ego. You are risking your identity as a smart, capable human being. When you see that perfect setup, your rational brain says, execute the plan. But your primitive brain, your amygdala, wakes up. The amygdala doesn't understand candlestick charts. It only understands survival. It looks at the potential of a losing trade and interprets it as a physical threat to your survival, exactly like a saber-toothed tiger in the jungle. Your brain goes into a fight, flight, or freeze response. And because you are sitting in a chair holding a mouse, you can't fight, and you can't run away. So, You freeze. You demand one more confirmation, not because it makes the trade better, but because your brain is desperately trying to eliminate the possibility of being wrong. You are trying to protect your ego from the emotional pain of a loss. Here is the truth that separates the 99% of losing traders from the 1% of elite operators. You can never ever know for sure what the market is going to do next. Let me repeat that. You do not know what is going to happen next. I don't know what is going to happen next. The best hedge fund managers in the world do not know what is going to happen next. Every single trade you take is a unique, independent event. Even if a setup has worked 10 times in a row, the 11th time could be a loss, simply because one massive institution decides to dump their position at that exact second. You have absolutely no control over the outcome once you enter the market. Analysis paralysis happens because you are trying to control the uncontrollable. You are trying to force certainty onto an inherently uncertain environment. How do elite operators click the mouse without hesitation, without a spike in their heart rate, and without breaking a sweat? They do it because they have installed a completely different mental operating system. They have mastered the art of thinking in probabilities. To cure your analysis paralysis, you must fundamentally change your definition of what a mistake is and what a loss is. Imagine you are the owner of a massive, highly profitable casino. In your casino, you have a roulette table. You know that the math of the roulette wheel gives the house a slight edge, let's say around 5%. Now, imagine a player walks up to the table, puts $10,000 on black, and wins. Does the casino owner panic? Does he cry? Does he start analyzing the wheel, trying to find one more confirmation before he lets the next player spin? Does he feel like a failure? Of course not. The casino owner smiles, pays the winner, and says, "Spin it again." Why? Because the casino owner knows he cannot predict the outcome of any single individual spin. The micro-level outcome is completely random. But he also knows that if he lets the wheel spin 1,000 times, the macro-level outcome is highly predictable. Over a series of spins, his statistical edge will guarantee that he makes millions of dollars. The casino owner does not tie his ego to a single spin. He ties his confidence to his statistical edge over time. As a trader, you are the casino. Your trading strategy is your roulette wheel. Your edge is the fact that your setups win more often than they lose, or that your winners are bigger than your losers. When you hesitate to pull the trigger, you are acting like a casino owner who is terrified of letting the wheel spin because he might have to pay out a single bet. It is irrational. If you don't spin the wheel, you can't exploit your edge. If you don't pull the trigger, your strategy is absolutely useless. But we need to go even deeper. We need to reframe how you view the money you lose when a trade goes wrong. Remember, analysis paralysis comes from the fear of being wrong. To fix it, we must remove the sting of a loss. We have to stop calling it a loss altogether. Let's use another analogy. Imagine you open a successful coffee shop. Every single month, you write a check for rent. You write a check for electricity. You write a check for coffee beans. You write a check for your employees' salaries. When you write those checks and money leaves your bank account, do you hit your desk in anger? Do you feel like a terrible business owner? Do you hesitate to pay your electricity bill because you want one more confirmation that the lights will turn on? No. You pay those expenses willingly, calmly, and professionally. Why? Because you understand that those expenses are the absolute cost of doing business. You cannot generate revenue without incurring costs. It is impossible. In trading, you do not have rent. You do not have inventory. You do not have employees. Your losing trades are your business expenses. When you define your risk before a trade and you set your stop loss at 1% of your account, you are simply allocating your budget for inventory. If the trade hits your stop loss, you did not make a mistake. You did not fail. You simply paid a business expense. When you truly, deeply accept this reality, the fear evaporates. How can you be paralyzed by the fear of making a mistake if taking a planned loss is no longer considered a mistake? If you follow your trading plan, identify your edge, set your stop loss, and execute the trade, and it hits your stop loss, That is a successful trade. Read my lips. A planned loss is a successful trade. You executed your job perfectly. The outcome was just the cost of doing business. The only true mistake in trading is breaking your rules, moving your stop loss, or giving in to the analysis paralysis and not taking the trade at all. Understanding this theory is great, but knowing is not enough. We have to rewire your brain through physical action. If you are struggling with analysis paralysis right now, I am giving you a mandatory 3-step protocol to deploy tomorrow morning. Step 1. The pre-acceptance contract. Before you ever sit down at your charts, you must accept the risk completely. When you see your setup forming, I want you to literally say out loud to an empty room, I acknowledge that this trade has a high probability of failing. I am completely comfortable losing X amount of dollars on this trade as a business expense. If you cannot say that sentence out loud and mean it, you are trading too big. Which brings me to step 2. The half-risk protocol. Analysis paralysis is heavily tied to financial anxiety. If your finger is freezing, it means the amount of money you are risking is too large for your current psychological capacity. You are trading with scared money, and scared money never wins. Tomorrow, cut your standard position size in half. If you normally risk 1 loss, drop it to 0.5. If you normally risk 1%, drop it to 0.5%. Cut the size down to a level where the financial impact of a loss feels like an absolute joke to you. When the money doesn't matter, the hesitation disappears. Your goal right now is not to make profits. Your goal is to rebuild the mechanical habit of pulling the trigger. Step 3. The execution scorecard. For the next 20 trades, I want you to stop tracking your P&L. Close the profit window. Hide the balance. Instead, you are going to grade yourself exclusively on execution. Did the setup appear? Yes. Did you pull the trigger without hesitating? Yes. Did you manage risk according to the plan? Yes. If you answer yes to those 3 questions, you score a point. It doesn't matter if the trade went to the moon or hit your stop loss instantly. You grade the process, not the outcome. When you shift your focus from making money to flawless execution, you detach your ego from the result, and the paralysis melts away. Listen to me very carefully. You have done the hard work. You have spent hundreds of hours studying the charts. You have built a strategy. You have the edge. Do not let your primitive brain steal your success right at the finish line. The market rewards execution, not hesitation. Perfection is a myth designed to keep you poor. The next time you see your setup, I want you to remember the casino owner. I want you to remember the coffee shop. Accept the risk, pay the business expense if you have to, and pull the damn trigger. If this psychological breakdown hit home for you, and you realize that your mind, not your strategy, is what's holding you back, then it is time to upgrade your mental operating system. Click the link in the description to get instant, free access to my Drawdown Defense Protocol. It's a 3-part, high-intensity video training designed to install the exact psychological circuit breakers that elite operators use to eliminate hesitation, kill FOMO, and protect their capital. You don't need another indicator. You need a mental edge. Click the link, get inside, and I'll see you in the protocol. Stay disciplined, execute flawlessly, and stop fighting the market.